Hey Becca, what are we learning today?
Today, we will be learning all about the equations of circles.
Here is the general format for the equation of a circle. X minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. H comma k denotes the center of the circle, and r denotes the radius. I'll show you an example. X minus 1 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 4. If you were given this equation, we could graph this equation by just knowing the center and the radius. The center is going to be h comma k, but note that these minus signs must be present. So h is 1 because it's next to a minus sign, and k is also 1. Our radius is the square root of 4 because 4 equals r squared. So to find r, you just have to take the square root of 4 and you get a radius of 2. If we want to graph this circle, the center is at 1, 1. So I go over 1, up 1, and that marks the center. And the radius is 2. So I can go over 2 to the right and plot a point, over 2 to the left, plot a point, up 2, and down 2. And those will mark the 4 corners of our circle, and you can connect to form the equation of the circle. If you are given the task to find the equation of a circle where you're given a center and you're given a radius, then you can use the general form to create the equation. So I have 2 examples here. The first example has a center of 0, 0, the origin, and a radius of 5. So if we're going to create this equation, we're going to use the general form. Our center is h comma k. So now if we use the general form, x minus h, 0, squared, plus y minus k, 0, squared, equals radius squared. Now we can just reduce this by eliminating the zeros, and we're left with x squared plus y squared equals 25. So we have generated an equation for a circle that's centered at the radius, centered at 0, and has a radius of 5. And you can sketch this circle, and I don't have a compass, so forgive me for my circle abilities. Sketch the circle by plotting points on all 4 corners that are a distance of 5 away from the center, and you can sketch a circle connecting those 4 points. Now, let's try another example where the circle is centered at -2, -7 and has a radius of 13. This is our h and this is our k, so using the general form, we have x minus h. Make sure you have minus negative squared plus y minus k, which is -7 squared, equals the radius squared. And if we clean this up a bit, our double negatives turns into addition. X plus 2 squared plus y plus 7 squared equals 169. So we've created the equation of a circle that is centered at -2, -7 and has a radius of 13. In a question about circles, you may not be given the center or the radius, but you may be given a diameter that goes through 2 points in the circle. If you're asked to find an equation with just this information, we have to convert this information into a center and a radius in order to create our equation using the general form. So let's think about it. If you know that the diameter of the circle goes through 7, 7 and -1, 1. If we sketch this a little bit, 7, 7 is somewhere in the first quadrant, and -1, 1 is somewhere over here. Now the diameter of the circle goes through both of those points. The center of the circle is in the middle of the diameter. How do we find the middle between 2 points? We're going to use the midpoint formula. And if you need a refresher on the midpoint formula, make sure you check out my video. The midpoint formula is the average of the x values and the y values of the 2 points we're taking the midpoint of. So the midpoint is the average of the x values, 7 plus -1 over 2, and the average of the y values, 7 plus 1 over 2. And this will tell us our midpoint. 7 plus -1 is 6, divided by 2 is 3, and 7 plus 1 is 8, divided by 2 is 4. The midpoint between our 2 points on the diameter is also the center. So we have found our h, k. The last thing we need to find is the radius. And the radius is going to be the distance from either one of these points to the center. So let's work with 7, 7 and find the distance between 7, 7 and 3, 4. If you also need a refresher on the distance formula, I have a video for that too, so make sure you check it out. The distance formula is the square root of the difference of the y values, 7 minus 4 squared, plus the difference of the x values, 7 minus 3 squared. And if we reduce this a little bit, 7 minus 4 is 3, and when we square that, we get 9. And 7 minus 3 is 4, and when we square that, we get 16. And this will equal the square root of 25, which reduces to 5. 5 is the distance between the center and our point 7, 7, which lies on the circle. So 5 must be our radius. The last step is to write out the equation using the general form, and I'll write it over here. X minus h, 3, squared, plus y minus k, which is 4, squared, equals radius squared. 5 squared is 25. So with just knowing that the diameter went through these 2 points, we were able to generate the equation of a circle by finding the center, which was the midpoint, and the radius, which was the distance between the center and another point on the circle.
Thanks for watching my video. I hope you feel a little bit more comfortable with the equations of circles. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and leave some comments if you have any questions. Make sure you subscribe because we're posting new videos every Monday and Thursday. And if you want to stay up to date, follow us on Twitter at @TheFearFactor. Have a good day.